Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Remote Tribe Podcast. I'm here with Anna, and we're going to talk today about a very interesting topic, which is anxiety in digital nomads and how to treat that. So Remote Tribe is a platform for remote workers and digital nomads. We help people become global citizens, so work and travel anywhere in the world. We help them with visa advice and content, and we've got a Circles community as well. We discuss things. And I will let Anna introduce herself because she's really experienced with working with digital nomads and anxiety issues. And we've got something really, really cool for you today. So go ahead, Anna.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. So once again, my name is Anna Mikeda, and I'm a coach and a psychologist, and I work with digital nomads, entrepreneurs, freelancers, global citizens who struggle with anxiety. And anxiety can come in many forms. Sometimes it's financial anxiety, sometimes it's social anxiety when you can't really go out and feel comfortable in your skin. Sometimes it's that really vague sense of something is not right, something is going off. And so I work with all of that because I think, global citizens, digital nomads, they have this potential to really have a very free, authentic, and joyful life. Anxiety is number one thing that stops us from doing so.
Clearly, yeah, all the studies say that, so that's definitely a problem. Yeah.
Okay, so I've prepared a small presentation that talks about anxiety, what it is, what to do with it. And then we're going to do 3 practical exercises to help you and us go through any potential of anxiety straight away. So shall I share my screen?
Yeah, let's go. Really excited.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, looks good. If you can put it in presentation mode, that would be awesome.
Like this?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
So the title of our talk today is Nomadic Spirit. It is something that I think we all have, this desire for adventure, for freedom, for experiencing something totally new. And I find this to be like the most awesome quality in us, digital nomads. But sometimes we need to go through a certain journey to move from anxiety and being worried, oh, can I do this? Can I try this? To authenticity. So this is our talk today, Nomadic Spirit, how to journey from anxiety to authenticity as digital nomad and entrepreneur. Okay, let's start with the basics. So what is anxiety? So it's a very common human emotion that is characterized by feelings of unease, worry, fear. In the worst case scenario, it can, turn into a panic attack. That's like when anxiety really gets out of control. So it can manifest in different physical symptoms, such as heart rate, sweating, trembling, but also in your emotional world, because you feel like this sense of unease, and in your thoughts, because your thoughts race like horses, like cars, and you just can't stop them, and you get like really agitated. So anxiety can be triggered by various factors, including, stress, uncertainty, like, will I get my visa? Will this plane be late or whatever? And challenging life events. But sometimes it can happen out of the blue, out of nowhere. For example, some of my clients, like they say that, they just wake up at night and they feel anxiety, and like there is no objective reason for it, but it just like takes over them, because anxiety is a type of habit. It's a habit we develop and then we keep to it, even though it's not a really good habit for
So
us.
you have to break that habit. You have to learn how to break the habit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So today we'll talk about it. And so while some level of anxiety is perfectly normal, like we kind of need it to get things done, otherwise we would just procrastinate forever and never get our taxes, finished. But in some situations, anxiety can really be so overwhelming that you can't really do anything about it. Like you become like immobilized by it. So anxiety should make you more productive, should make you more efficient in dealing with life's tasks, with life's dangers, but it can have the opposite effect of you just being like in a freeze response, or feeling so crappy about yourself that you don't want to do anything, and thus procrastination or constant media scrolling, things like that. So this is just like a very basic view on anxiety. let's move. What is the real reason for anxiety? Like, okay, we've heard from, behavioral point of view, it's we have a fear, we have something that, needs to be done, and we're anxious about doing it correctly because it's important. But what is it really about? And here I have a photo of like a NASA person looking intensively at the screen and trying to control everything. And okay, this guy, he really does need to control everything. But for us, the really big secret, like the biggest secret about anxiety, that it is rooted in control. So if I make it really, really simple, you can say anxiety equals control.
And what do you mean by control, Anna? Is it control of your life, of your emotions, of others? Like,
All of that. All of that. So the feeling you get is that something is off. Something is not right, not according to how I think it should be. And then we start controlling it. We start controlling whatever it is. If it's our behavior in a social situation, maybe it's our emotions, maybe our thoughts. But the trick is that control is a form of fighting. It's a form of saying like, no, this is wrong. And whenever we start fighting with something, it becomes bigger. This is one of the laws of the psyche, of like our psychological makeup. Because the more we think about something, the more we give attention and energy to it, the more important it becomes, the bigger it becomes. And thus, the more we control, the more we feel like I have to control, the more we get into this habit and loop of anxiety. Okay, so don't get me wrong. Some control is necessary in our life. Like, we can't even book tickets if we don't have, control. But sometimes it can happen that control overtakes us. And we really become like really stressed and really trying to control everything, control like, the price of the tickets, we always go checking, or, control how many likes our post got on social media. Or control, okay, so this is a simple example that I think everyone's going to understand. So imagine you're in a social situation and then you said something, but like a person you were talking to, he didn't hear you. And here you may feel like a little bit, like ouch, like that's not very pleasant. So like a normal response would be like, okay, so he didn't hear me, I'll repeat, or I'll go talk to someone else. That is like a, simple response. But sometimes if we're anxious in social situations, what happens is that this thing that he didn't hear what we said, we get nervous about it. We're like, okay, there's something wrong with me. Like I'm not beautiful enough, or I'm not confident enough to speak in a group for people to respect me. There's something wrong with me. I need to act in a more, comfortable, in a more like spontaneous, authentic way. And we start controlling it. Whereas exactly the opposite of state of control, the state of authenticity, the state of spontaneity, is letting go of control and not thinking about, okay, what am I going to say? Or, how are they going to react to me? But really just doing what we feel like doing, saying what we feel like saying without the second thoughts, without constant like proving that, okay, am I good enough? Am I successful enough? So this is something that lies deeper in anxiety, because anxiety can happen in, basic mundane things like, booking tickets or
and in
paying.
any environment, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But the deeper reason for anxiety is this feeling that there is like, I'm not good enough. And I have to do something to very quickly control this. I have to like make myself, good. So this good is a very abstract category. We don't think like that, but this is how our subconscious mind thinks. This is the category that we feel, okay, there's something like I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I need to quickly do something about it. And so control comes, that can come through, how like our social interactions, our money, like a lot of control over financial issues, sometimes necessary control, but sometimes just completely over the top control, like fear and constantly checking like your account, like how much money I have. The same goes for social media, our popularity there. The same goes to how our coworkers, treat us. Is there like enough respect to me in the group? So basically, just summing it all up, even though this may sound a little bit complicated because like this is probably very new information, but what I want you to take out of it is the more you get rigid and controlling and like stressed about this is not right, I have to change this, the more you will have anxiety. And the more you will have anxiety, the more you will try to control. So it's a loop that reinforces itself, making it stronger and stronger and stronger until you get to like a really, really unpleasant states.
Can that lead to depression? I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then a quick question. So how do I know how much or how less control is control? What things have to be controlled and what things I should let go? Like how can you tell that difference?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a philosophical question. But I have an answer that is, I find it very straightforward. So why do you do, okay, to ask yourself whether control is healthy or neurotic. I call it neurotic. There are two main components. So the first one is the feeling that I have to do it, in opposite of I want to do it. So for example, I want to read a book in the evening. Opposite, I have to read a book to be like the smartest person in the room. So this feeling of have to, like I have to do something to be, to be successful. I have to do something to be liked. I have to do something, to be perfect. Like that is this feeling. You can actually like feel it. I feel it when I used to have anxiety. I used to feel it in my stomach. Like it was like this stomach like knot that was like, I have to do something, to prove myself. That was the thing. So that's the first trick you have. And second trick about control. It's very often when we have control, we like neurotic control, we have only one type of behavior that is okay. Like we only think there's like one or maybe like two solutions. And we're like focused on having it exactly the way we think about it. But when it's healthy control, it's very flexible because the world changes, we change, situations change, and there's like no problem replay a plan, in the midway, like in the process, like restructure, like reorganize.
Just be flexible. Yeah.
Be
Try to
flexible.
be flexible.
But when you feel like any sort of like unexpected event, like really like hits you, and you're like, no, this shouldn't be happening. Like this is wrong. I have my plan. This is also about neurotic control. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks a lot for that. I think I kind of see myself sometimes in there.
I mean, yeah, we'll have it sometimes, but now let's. I'm gonna tell you a client story. It's so this is a guy. He was around like 32 years old, and he was one of the co-founders in a big online marketing firm. So an incredibly successful guy, and he was also happily married with kids, and living the life because he was traveling like in Thailand, in Bali, just like being like really
Like a true digital nomad. Yeah, for real.
yeah. And then but so when me and him we met at a party and we started talking, and I told him that I work with anxiety, and he was like, okay, wow, I have a couple of questions for you. And then like we just went on talking for the whole evening, because basically it turned out that him being like objectively successful, in the world's eyes, he still had a lot of social insecurity, because he was a guy who was very like he was very quirky, like he was spontaneous, he was like a little bit weird, he was like very loud.
Hard to accept by the norms, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so even though he was like successful, he still, whenever he got into a new group, he still felt incredibly shy, and he didn't really know how to act, and he was always trying to impress people, like giving expensive gifts, or like organizing like some cool party. So he was really into this. And as a like when you really try to impress someone, it's a form of compensation. It's a psychological term. It's like, notice me, notice me, notice me. So we started working with that, and it did lead us to some like very deep answers, because a lot of those things, reasons for those things, they lie in the childhood. So he had a lot of shame growing up, because his parents were like incredibly like intelligent people, like, you know, professors, and they didn't like that their child was so like crazy, like really
Well, he
loud.
had a lot of pressure when he was younger on him, I guess.
Exactly. So he
Yeah.
was, he felt that it was shameful to be himself. And but at the same time, you know, he went to a lot of like courses about like how to be you know, confident with girls, like how to be like the most, like the coolest guy in the room, like all those sort of courses. And you know, and they say just like be confident, like, you know, like, you know, be awesome, just trust yourself. And so he had this constant fight between two personalities. One wanted you know, just wanted to be himself, like spontaneous, open, loud, laughing, like he had very healthy inner child, very big inner child, so to speak, speaking psychological terms. And the other part of him wanted to be like really cool, you know, like covered in tattoos and being like, hey girl, you know, like, or like, hey guy, like, what's up? So he was constantly fighting between those two modalities of behavior. He didn't know which one was right. And that caused a lot of anxiety with him. So like his social life was like this, ups and downs.
Yeah.
So we kind of worked through that, because it did take a lot of like self-acceptance, like us accepting the inner child as he is, working with some cognitive mistakes, you know, when we think that people like only, you know, cool people. Then there was like some trauma work with his like past experience. So now I'm very happy to say that he is a co-organizer for one of the festivals, like deeply involved in like social gatherings, and feeling very comfortable in that. So that's my client's story I wanted to share. And on his example, I wanted to give you a couple of points, like anxiety checklist. So if you find that, okay, maybe you have anxiety, or maybe you know, okay, I have anxiety, I have like problems with sleeping, like I can't concentrate well. So here's a couple of things for you to check. So first of all is self-acceptance. That is like the most important part, like kind, loving self-acceptance. Psychologically speaking, it's cultivating like a nurturing relationship with your inner child. That's psychologically speaking. But more like, you know, like normal life speaking is relating to yourself as your own best friend. So like not being too judgmental, like too harsh on yourself, how we're often to ourselves.
Yeah, taking care of yourself, of your mental health, doing the things you like.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. Like really taking care. And that is like this attitude of a best friend. Like you really start opening up when you have this attitude, because some parts of us, they're afraid. They're afraid of the criticism that we give it. So they never come forward. But when we accept ourselves, including our anxiety, you know, including the fact that sometimes I have anxiety, including this fact, like that is like essential for deep and lasting change, break away from anxiety. Another important thing is social neuroticism. So we live in a society that is like a little bit superficial, yeah. And so we kind of have to break free from like expectations of success that come mostly, you know, through social media, like, you know, all those like beautiful.
Yeah, don't get me started. Like everything is perfect on social media. There's a lot of anxiety because of that. I absolutely hate it.
Yes, so like we have to be careful. We have to first be aware that this is, you know, existing, that I like, and really feel that love is not about amount of followers or likes. Like it's something that I don't have to deserve love. Like I have it because of how I am and who I am. And this is a very deep and profound feeling. It's also connected with self-acceptance, that I don't need to pretend, I don't need to be anyone. I don't need to be successful to be loved. I don't need to be beautiful to be loved. I don't need to be like rich to be loved. So this is like all those things. I mean, they're all interlinked. So
Sure.
Another thing is for anxiety work is trauma. So not everybody has trauma, and people who have it, like they probably know that about themselves. It's an event in the past that was so difficult for them that they couldn't cope with it. So usually it happens when we're children and we witness or we experience something that is like way above our heads that we're too young to understand, and that can really like shape us for many generations forward. So if you feel like also if you have like irrational anxiety, like waking up at night or like out of the blue anxiety, then you should, like, not you, but like people who are watching this should look into trauma work, because it is possible that there's some kind of trauma unconsciously triggering that response.
So how would people recognize trauma then? What's the difference between anxiety and trauma? Or they're interconnected?
So they're interconnected. Trauma is an event that happened in the past that was so stressful, so dramatic, that a person didn't know how to cope with it. And but he had to cope. That's life. Sometimes we're faced with challenges that are above us. So people invite coping mechanisms, and that could be positive mechanism. For example, okay, after this failure, I'm just going to stand up, believing in myself, and try again. So that's like a healthy way to deal.
Yeah.
Another way would be when we're faced with like a situation that is bigger than us, that is like scarier than us, we can hide, we can run away, we can pretend we don't care, we can start procrastinating, we can start completely avoiding a sphere of life, or we can start in the opposite, compensating, trying to get like to become the most beautiful girl in the room or the richest guy in the club, whatever. So trauma brings very radical solutions that are often connected to anxiety. So anxiety can come as a consequence of trauma. And also traumas are often connected with fear. So very, very often we have like strong fear in our bodies when we talk about trauma. And anxiety is essentially fear, but like in a smaller percentage. So, and your second question was how to see that, how to know that you have anxiety or you have trauma?
From trauma, yeah, because I mean, it can, sometimes you're so young that you can't even remember you had trauma. So it's quite interesting.
So for that, I work with the subconscious mind. So I take my clients deep into meditation. When memories of the past, they start opening up. So if you don't remember, like what are the signs that you possibly can have trauma? So things I said already, like waking up at night, just like feeling anxious out of the blue, also having recurring nightmares about something, or like other unpleasant dreams. Then not understanding why you can't do something in your life, something simple that other people can do easily, you just can't do. For example, you just you just can't tell a person that I disagree with you, you're wrong. For some reason you're like, no, this is like taboo, I can't say it.
Yeah.
You don't understand why this is happening. Then the reason could be in the trauma.
All right. So quite a few ways that it manifests. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And regular physical exercises. Also, just make sure that you do have enough physical exercises, good food, enough sleep. Those are very basic things. So I'm not going to talk about in length about it, because it. We know it all, but we just have to do it because it is really important. It's self-care. Essentially, like it's about making sure that you provide for yourself enough resources to manage any question, any task in the world.
Another thing I noticed, and talking to my nomad friends, was that whenever you feel like you're overwhelmed, you should change your environment a bit. Like some of my friends, they just go skiing or surfing or they change the city. Like if they live in a big city, they just meet some friends somewhere or do something out of the ordinary. And in a few weeks, they come back very relaxed and with a different mindset, more endorphins in their body and a new experience, enjoyed life more. So sometimes it's good just to, I think, in my opinion, and that's in my experience too, like if you change the environment a bit, maybe just break out the ordinary and do something special for like a sustained period of time, and that will help as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to include it in my next list.
Yeah.
No, it is actually a very good idea. It's connected, like a little bit of neurophysiology here. So in human body, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. It's essentially sympathetic is activity, reaching our goals, getting the mammoth, for food. And parasympathetic nervous system is sleeping, resting, cuddling, all those awesome things. The thing with anxiety is that we get into constant loop of sympathetic nervous system. So we constantly increase our, levels of cortisol and other stress hormones.
So you want to break that loop. Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes we can't, like sometimes just like living our life, we can't break it because we're meant to sleep, rest during sleep, but we can't fall asleep because our mind is like, bzz.
Yeah.
That's very good to really like dramatically change the location and be like, okay, I'm starting like this 2 weeks is like really a new experience. And then because of this transition, parasympathetic nervous system can kick in and be like, okay, yeah, this is now like different. This is now like time to breathe out. So
exactly.
And my next slide is again anxiety, but like specifically to digital nomads, entrepreneurs, freelancers, because we do have quite a lifestyle. I'd say it this way. We travel, we meet a lot of new people. We don't know where we're gonna sleep in 2 weeks or like in a week. Like it can be, there's a lot of uncertainty in our life, and uncertainty. Like the best way to deal with uncertainty is to flow with it, to solve the problems as they arise. And the worst thing to do with uncertainty is to be anxious about it, which sometimes happens to us when we're like, how am I going to manage this?
And no, yeah, one thing I want to add is that you should also protect your mind from, like really bad news, like bad movies. That's in my experience again, and it helped me a lot to cope. Like negative energy does exist, and it really influences your life because your environment makes you. So like just be very careful at what kind of news you read and what kind of movies you watch and what kind of circles you have, because that will bring even more anxiety to you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to avoid all the news, but just recognize that a lot of news are really, really toxic, and people are toxic. Some people are toxic as well, and your environment can be toxic. So just be careful with that.
100%, like 100%, absolutely. And yeah, I'm gonna actually give an exercise for this like a little bit later today. So so for us as digital nomads, prioritizing relaxation and work-life balance is very important. That's exactly what we talked about: sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Like you have to rest, otherwise you're too stressed. And this is and I mean, I know all of us have high high ambitions, like we want to do something important for the world, but we have to remember not to make this this desire, this aim, this dream a thing of control, like a thing of really rigid, like stressful, okay, I have to do this. And that's why we need very wise work-life balance. So this is something that more and more information has been coming out about it, so I'm like that it's out there. But it's important to learn to switch between the two systems. And actually today we're going to do an exercise about the switching.
And I think remote working does help a lot. And people have noticed that during COVID, they can spend more time with the family, better work-life balance. So people prefer that way of working. They can have walks in the nature in the lunch breaks. It's a completely different way of living life. I think that's why I'm promoting remote working so much, and I'm happy for the people that are seeing the benefits, because there are many. Also, I think the office can be anxious a lot of times. The open spaces, the energy there is can be quite bad. So I think we're in the middle of kind of a mindset revolution when it comes to work and life in general.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally agree with you. So it's like this transformation is happening, and I'm happy that we are the advocates of it. So that's cool. Another point, something we already started discussing, is mindful social media use. Like what you said about like what you watch. Who are your friends? Like, are they healthy people? Like, are they good, open-hearted people, or are they like toxic? The same with like social media. So like, what do we watch there? The same with like TV shows. Like, what kind of TV shows we watch? For example, I had a client recently who had panic attacks, and like they weren't too bad, but still he had them, and
Yeah,
he had one of the strongest ones after watching an episode of Black Mirror.
of
It's like,
course.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
yeah, don't watch that TV show then. But also about social media, it's something like really tricky, because it gets into our sympathetic nervous system. So because social media, it's all about like 30-second clips that starts makes our attention span very short. So every time we need something new to keep our interest, and that creates a very kind of jumping mind. So it's essentially a sympathetic nervous system type of thinking. So we actually become anxious just by watching social media, like just even if it's kitties, even if it's like kitties, or like a meditating person, like
It's
still.
it's I think it's also a super stimulating yeah, sympathetic system.
Mhm.
And
Well,
you don't even realize it. Absolutely. Yeah. Plus a lot of the information is absolute garbage. Like it's not, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So we have to be mindful of it. Like we can't change it because that's the 21st century, and we are digital, nomads.
Yeah.
Um, be mindful of it. And so another thing, creating structure and discipline, which might seem like the contradictory to what I said about control. That control, creates anxiety. But here, once again, creating healthy control. So it's a self-chosen, mature discipline. Not when you tell yourself, I have to do this because I have to earn more money. But you say, I want to do this because I enjoy this work. Or I enjoy morning meditations. So I'm gonna, set a timer, 15 minutes every morning, and do it every morning. And this kind of structure, this kind of discipline gives us a skeleton, like a skeleton in our body. It holds all our muscles, and we can really relax and just kind of hang on the skeleton. The same with discipline. When you have a healthy discipline, healthy like life routine, then you can really relax and be like, even though the world goes unpredictable and nothing happens as I want it to happen, but I know that in the evening I will have this, and this is where I will resource myself, where I will feed my
Recharge.
reach.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this gives you confidence. This keeps you calm, so you don't get like overwhelmed by
Yeah, it's this is related to one thing I advise nomads all the time, to travel less, basically, like maybe at least at most once a month, because they will find their favorite places in the neighborhood. They'll find familiar places all the time. They can have a routine in the morning, in the evening. They can find a gym or a nice cafe where they can have their coffee. So that really ties into this anti-anxiety method that you can apply. Things will become more familiar, will be more calm. There's going to be more familiarity in your life.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's yeah, absolutely. Like
At least that's what I do.
and I love the word ritual. Like I am like a very ritualistic person, in the morning I have my tea, and like I look into the ocean, for a little bit. And yeah, and in the evening I switch off social media like at least 2 hours before I go to bed, so it doesn't like distract me. And then I
Yeah,
read.
that sounds great.
Yeah, so rituals are very, very important for keeping us healthy.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be like candles and scents and all that stuff. It can be a sunset, it can be a nice bar with low music, it can be a jazz bar, it can be, whatever you find useful and relaxing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's move
Cool.
to the next bit about how to work with anxiety holistically. So in my approach, I've studied anxiety a lot from different angles, from like mindfulness to cognitive behavioral therapy to Ericksonian hypnosis. Like I've just got all of it. But basically, the conclusion I came is kind of obvious. Yeah, you have to work with anxiety holistically. Like you cannot work just with the body or just with the mind or just with the emotions. How sometimes different schools or professionals do. You have to integrate the work together. And so today we will do 3 different exercises that is specifically for one for body, one for emotions, and one for mind. Okay, are we ready?
I am. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
awesome.
go.
Let's go. First one is exercise for the body, breathing technique. So breath is like the most awesome tool we have to control the switch between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So we can switch it off on and off with our breath. Not always that easy, but this technique will help. So first, what we do, we sit comfortably with our back straight, shoulders relaxed. So straight back is important, so you don't fall asleep. And also like straight back tells us, okay, this is work time. This is not like, chilling time. This is time when I do something active. So then this technique has 2 variations. So imagine you're feeling sleepy or like unclear, like lack of clarity. Like you can't really like concentrate, and you just like you don't want to do anything, and like you feel anxious because of this, like it's kind of low hanging anxiety, low sounding anxiety, like that type. So what you do for that? The first thing is you look up. It's actually that simple. So the first step, you start looking up, because this is a movement. Our ancestors never had predators attack them from the sky, only from the ground. So something that was up was something good. It was something safe. So whenever our ancestors looked up, it was like a safe place for them, on one hand. And so the second step in this would be to start concentrating on your breathing, but you concentrate on how the air enters the nostrils. So like here. And you really, really, like you get quiet and you really tune into the sound of it, like how the sound, the feeling, sensation of it. And you take 10 breaths like that. So you look up and you continue breathing through your nose, concentrating on your breaths. And after each breath, you count. So inhale, exhale, that's 1. Inhale, exhale, that's 2. Inhale, exhale, that's 3. And so on. You count until 10. And after 10 breaths, you will, like, your state will change. You will access parasympathetic nervous system. You will become much more relaxed and present. However, if you lose attention, so for example, you do like 1, 2, 3, and then you start thinking about something, and you're like 5, 6, or like, oh, okay, wait, where was 4? Then you start again. So we need 10 consecutive breaths that go from one to another, that you just follow. In this way, our mind becomes focused, calm. But sometimes Quite the opposite is our problem. We feel agitated. We feel like there are like too many thoughts and we have too many energies, and our anxiety is not like, but like, like that really high-pitched, like intense feeling. Okay, in that case, we do the same exercise, but a little bit different. So here, we will put our hands on the stomach, and we will do, and we will look down. So before we're looking up, now we will look down, because this is a very calming like gesture for us to look down. So we look down, we put our hands on our belly, and once again, we start breathing, counting each breath as we concentrate on the sensations in our belly, in our abdominal breathing, how the belly goes up and down. So let's try this. So 1, 2, 3, and etc. I can already feel how I became like more chill after 3 breaths.
Yeah.
So this is a very simple technique available for us anytime, anywhere. And it really helps to change the switch. So this is how we work with the body, using our breathing as a guide to change our like mental state. But for me, I'm also a Qigong instructor. So Qigong is like yoga, very similar, but it's originates from China, and it's all about like working with energy through very slow and deliberate conscious movements. So I work a lot with Qigong exercises to help release stress from the body, because body holds anxiety. Like it holds it. Whenever you feel anxious, you can always feel it in your body, like in your stomach usually.
So that sensation is real. It's there.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was the breathing technique. Let's move to the next one. Yes? Okay, the next one. So emotions exercise. This one we're going to work with emotions. It's called energetic revision. So remember you said before that some people are toxic, some films are toxic, like just like you shouldn't have it in your like head. So what to do when those things happen? So this technique is especially good when you have a recurring conversation with someone in your head. Like you're like, oh, okay, and then I'm going to tell him this, and he's going to say this, and then I'm going to say this, and then he'll be like, okay, you're right, or something like that. We all have those like conversations we have that happen often after the possibility of conversation happened, after we could have said something smart, 2 weeks later, okay, that's how I should have replied.
I have the line now. Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody has a lot of like those kind of thoughts, here's the exercise you can do. And our emotions, they're essentially movements of energy. So this is important to understand. I'm not going to go too deep into it now because it's a whole separate topic, but we're going to use this principle for healing. So so a person sits down, he closes his eyes, and let's recall like a recurring mental conversation with someone, or somewhere where there's this like energetic exchange, but that is like unpleasant, that is like toxic, that you feel like, okay, like I don't want this in my life, like this is like not normal. So then we're going to do, again, breathing and visualization together. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to turn our head to the right, and we're going to inhale to the left, so like this. And when we inhale, we imagine how we take all our energy from this conversation, from this person, from this business, from this TV show, from this like blogger, whatever. We take our energy, our attention away from it, and we bring it back to ourselves. So we return it. So we do this. Inhale, we take in. And then on the exhale, we turn the head to the right, and we give back everything that we took from this person. So we exhale, and usually exhalation is longer. So in the end, we can shake our head a little bit, like just like clearing all the connections with this person. So, so once again, inhale, take ours back. Exhale, give back what is not ours, what is this person's. And essentially, we do this, 3, 5, 10 times, and you check in with yourself, and you will most likely notice the difference after at least 3 things, like 3 times you go like this. You will notice that like you're kind of more distant from this person, like you have like space from him, you don't care that much about him. This works because we often invest a lot of our energy into another person. It could be energy of hope, of desire to be liked, of anger, And the same, the other person, he also puts his energy on us, like energy of criticism, of like, saying like something is wrong with you, or energy of jealousy, or whatever it is, So we have this ability to take ours and to give back theirs. So this is how we work with emotions that are connected to people, or to also like TV shows, Instagram. Yeah, we can also take energy from like TV
Absolutely,
shows. Yeah. Like, so how is this exercise? Any questions about it?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think it can work. Again, as long as you're aware and conscious about it. Yeah. I didn't know about this one, but very good, very good.
Okay, let's move to the third one, the mind. Okay, mind exercise. It's called funny witness. So we all know the witness exercise. It's like one of the famous mindfulness exercise when you observe your thoughts or whatever is happening in you. So we're going to do a change of this practice, because so anxiety thoughts, they just like come rushing in like a flood. They take all of us, and we're just like, where am I going to take money to pay for like my next month rent or something like that? So those thoughts, when they attack you, what to do? So first we sit comfortably and take a couple of deep breaths to relax. We can use the first exercise. And then start observing the thoughts and ruminations as they arise. So ruminations is essentially like repetitive thoughts that bring no conclusion, that have like no end result. They're like, I should have done this 10 years ago. I should get better. I should get better. I should get on a diet from Monday. Things like that.
Yeah.
So when a negative thought appears, we start to visualize it in a funny context. So we see it approaching. For example, a thought, like some anxious thought, how I need more money. Like I'm sure all of us have this thought every now and then. And this thought is not a problem, but when it's an anxious thought, a constantly recurring thought, then it's a problem. So imagine it appears, it comes by, and imagine a funny context into which you say goodbye to this thought. For example, imagine you take this thought, you tie it to a balloon, and you let it go into the sky, and you wave goodbye to it, like, bye-bye thought. And the trick here is to make it as funny, as ridiculous, as non-serious as possible. Because humor, it breaks the control, it breaks the nervousness, it breaks the rigidity. Like humor is a very, very good instrument to deal with anxiety.
Yeah.
Or another example, so like a train comes up, it stops in front of you, the door is open, and the thought comes up, and it says like, oh, you don't have enough money. But then the doors start closing mid-sentence, and like it gets stuck, and then the train leaves. And you're like, okay, bye-bye, thought. So, once again, here the task is like to make it funny, like ridiculous, absurd. So you see this thought not as this big threat, but as something ridiculous at one hand. On the other hand, that comes and goes, that you can like release it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this approach is actually very useful for like developing positive thinking. So that's the mind exercise. Any questions about it?
No, I think it's good. I didn't know about this one either, but definitely can help people. I'll try it myself, I promise.
Okay. Okay, so this is what I've prepared for us today. I also wanted to invite everyone to meditation classes that I hold weekly. They are donation-based, and I use simple and very enjoyable mindfulness techniques to help us stay in the present, to really enjoy the present moment, and to harness the energy of anxiety and channel it towards our goals, because any kind of emotion is energy. Anxiety is a very powerful emotion. It's an essential emotion of fear. And we can take this energy and transform it into energy that we use towards our goals, whatever they are, personal life, professional life, creativity. So that's like really cool. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I invite people to follow me on social media. So if you do want to join the classes, information about them is there on my page, Down Nomad, in Instagram, or on my email. So that's what I prepared for you today.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Anna. Very, very cool stuff. I hope people find it interesting and they can get in touch with you. And what are your thoughts on, like, in general, I would say, like, the most successful digital nomads that you've met so far? Like, what are their routines to take care of themselves? Maybe you can give us a few tips. Like, the people who are really, really happy with their lives.
Okay, that's a very good question. So just like yesterday, I was talking to a friend, a digital nomad here on Madeira Island, and yeah, he's successful, and he doesn't seem to have anxiety. At least I didn't pick up on it. He does a lot of sports, so he really channels all this energy into sports and activity. So that's like his magical tool. So I have another friend who goes like to therapy every week, just like to have a safe space to work through all the emotions, all the anxiety, and kind of like go on with the rest of the week feeling more like resourceful, more grounded, more centered, remembering about his aims, because it's also very important. Sometimes we get lost into what we want, and that ability, like multiple choices of what we can have. And as digital nomads, the world is abundant for us.
Yeah.
When we have all these choices, we can also get stressed. Like, it's kind of ridiculous, but we can get really anxious about, like, oh, what do I choose? Like, what is the best? Like, I have to choose the best, and like we get anxious about that. So yeah, he goes to therapy like once a week to really kind of clear all of this out. But I think so. Also, I teach qigong and meditation here on the island, and so digital nomads that come to me regularly, like I see progress in them, because mindfulness is like one of the best things to break the habit of anxiety, like no doubt here. But I think the most important thing is self-acceptance. So those digital nomads that are not stressed, they're the ones that accept themselves for who they are, firstly, and secondly, they treat themselves kindly and wisely. For example, it's like if they fail at something, very often when we fail, we get down and we're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But like they know that failing once is like nothing, like,
Yeah.
fail so many times before you succeed. And the fact that you failed doesn't say that you are, a bad professional or a bad or like unsuccessful person, which just says that this time it didn't work out. And they're not like criticizing themselves about a mistake. They're like, I'm going to learn on mistake, I'm going to get better, and I'm going to succeed. So they're very wise about how they, they treat themselves. Very kind, very.
I would say also, I would add something to that from my experience and talking to some of my friends. Keep your expectations quite low sometimes, because like you cannot achieve that. There's as much as you can achieve. Like you can't really achieve everything you want all the time. So like don't have really high expectations about people, about start with low expectations, and then if you get surprised in a nice way, that's awesome. And usually that's what it happens, at least in my case. Like I go with an open heart, and I find some amazing stuff, and I'm always surprised. And it's great. It's great. Like I notice a lot of people, they travel somewhere and they they have an idea of what they want to see, and when they get there, they're very disappointed. And of course, like because it's been amped by media or by some other people, and then you have your own perception of those things. So obviously, you might be disappointed. So don't go there with high expectations. Don't go to that meeting with high expectations. Just be yourself, and then see how it goes.
Andrew, you're very wise, because this is like what you just described. There's like a term for it in psychology. It's called idealization. When we put standards that are like way too high and towards others, but also towards ourselves. And then we get disappointed because the reality never matches the expectation of how it should
Yeah.
be, the perfect.
And that ties into social media again, which is a massive issue these days. And yeah, you know the story.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. It's been great. So hope to see you in another podcast, and we'll get it from there.
Okay, awesome. It was my pleasure speaking with you today, and I'm very happy to share this knowledge with other digital nomads.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.